Well, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Iori Folari alongside Asukwa James.
Good morning, Nigerians.
Indeed. Quite a number of issues we'll touch on today. There's the Financial Misappropriation Committee in the National Assembly, in the, the Senate in particular, is actually wanting a refund by the Interim Management Committee of what, $4.9 million? 4.9 billion naira. We'll see how that goes. Then there's the NDDC. The NDDC probe continues. Minister Akpabio has said that he was grossly misunderstood.
Yes.
And that he actually never said that something like 60% of National Assembly members were benefiting from contracts from the NDDC. The only problem here is that something like 60 million people, if they were watching television
on that day,
actually heard something very, very close to that. But then the minister did say, they wouldn't let me explain. I kept on saying, but there was all, and true, you must remember what has become a meme. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Minister, quench your mic. It's okay. So, to one extent.
No, the "it's okay" might have another meaning, which we might not know.
No. I wasn't supposed to be laughing this anymore because it's a very, very serious affair.
No, today is Friday, so
yes,
we need to make it a bit light and serious.
It's okay. It's okay. In fact, Minister, quench your mic. It's okay. Meanwhile, he knew it was not okay. He had some more to say, but they wouldn't let him say it. And we all witnessed that.
Yes, we all did. Just like you said, more than 60 million.
If they were watching television,
we are watching. And when the committee chairman, acting chairman, then was saying it's okay, the minister kept saying, but at some point he backtracked and said he didn't mean it that way.
Okay.
You understand? So if you are to look at the whole situation, and then based on the letter, his response, that he sent to the House of Reps.
Yeah, but Miller had given him a sort of ultimatum.
Yeah, ultimatum for him to reply and also to publish the names.
Now, a letter did go to the National Assembly.
Which he sent to that he said he didn't mean it that way.
Yeah.
But I like what Gbajabia Miller said, which is he used the word gaslighting. Playing to the gallery. If they say if you actually say somebody stole money, you have to bring evidence. And that is what Gbajabia actually, wanted. And so if, for instance, he had names, I had expected, just like every other person in Nigeria and indeed the world, expected the minister to have reeled out those names, and including...
Which names? As if you're not a Nigerian. I knew as soon as they were saying that no name would be mentioned. Not one name could be mentioned, as if you're not a Nigerian.
Because we knew that the heat was getting on the minister, so he just needed something for to try and weigh the whole matter off.
But you know that as the it's such an interesting, and it's an interesting mixed bag sort of a thing. A part of the letter, either another letter or a part of the letter had indeed said that there were indeed names, but that he was not going to publicize that document.
They are public officials.
Okay.
And anything, if indeed that letter had names, we need to see it. Nigerians need to see the people that have been keeping our own monies, especially the monies that belong to the Niger Delta people.
If you see that kind of a thing, I don't know. That would probably be the first time you've seen that kind of a thing.
But it's good that the speaker said he has told the clerk
to
commence
proceedings,
the legal proceedings against the minister. So let's see how it will go. If eventually it will turn to a family affair, they are of the same political party.
We'll see how it goes, indeed. Now, insecurity. Insecurity is another issue. Yesterday we were talking about insecurity in a different aspect. Aid workers killed, but now there's a sort of a general insecurity. I believe we have a report on that. Let's see, insecurity, I think, up north especially. We have a report on that. Let that kick us off.
Hundreds of people have been killed in various local governments in southern Kaduna over the past few years. Only last week, 10 people were killed when armed men attacked communities in Kaura local government area. The crisis has continued despite the deployment of various military teams to the area. Many have accused the government of not doing enough to stop the killings.
We need peace in southern Kaduna. We need peace in southern Kaduna. We need justice in southern Kaduna.
These youths are from southern Kaduna. They are here in the FCT to lay their grievances and bring to the knowledge of Nigerians the happenings in their communities. With different descriptions and chanting of songs, they drive home their message.
Do we think that the international communities will stand for us?
They are calling on the international community and the government to come to their rescue and stop the conflict in their area.
For us, we believe that there is a conspiracy to take over the land of the people in southern Kaduna. Government has failed in that angle. So we are charging government to rise up to their responsibility to protect the lives and properties of the people of southern Kaduna. That is what we want from the government, not to begin to call us names.
We're asking El-Rufai, who is our government, to come and stop the killing.
The youth condemned the presidency's response that the killings are as a result of revenge and counter-revenge.
Revenge killing is illegal. Even if I thought there was a killing initially, it does not warrant future killings.
For the past weeks or so that this alert has been going, have you heard the governor say a single thing? He hasn't. He has been quiet, and we begin to suspect complicity in this, because you cannot be the chief security officer of a state and then killings are ongoing in your states, and yet you are not coming out to tell us anything.
They call on Nigerians to support their region to ensure an end to the continuous killings.
Despite the allegations and blame games, one thing paramount in the mind of these youths is peace. They want the government and international communities to come to the rescue of the people of southern Kaduna and ensure that peace is restored. Helen Osameva Akins, TVC News, Abuja.
Well, thank you very much for that. So the Northwest generally and Kaduna and southern Kaduna is part of all of that. But that's where we have the problems. And actually...
I think we have a problem virtually everywhere.
Yeah, I get you.
Because of banditry in areas like Zamfara, Sokoto, Niger, and then the Boko Haram insurgency in the northeast. Then the one in southern Kaduna is like a protracted, crisis. Something that has been happening often, is long. So it's something that the government, for southern Kaduna, I think is something that government can easily wade into and solve, because it's something that the governor has already been
the easily part of your statement
making
is
moves
debatable.
already.
Easily part of your statement is debatable. Otherwise, we won't still be at it now. In any case, we have a guest to help us out, Mr. Philip Agbese. Mr. Philip Agbese is a security expert, consultant, and as well as a human rights researcher. And he is in our Abuja studio. Good morning, Mr. Agbese. Okay, hopefully they could hear at home, because I did see your mouth move. So I'm assuming that we're good. Maybe it'll get better so that we'll hear you too in studio. But the crisis that it's been long ongoing in southern Kaduna. My colleague was just saying that that's something government can easily get on top of. Give me your comments on that.
Thank you very much for having me this morning.
Our pleasure.
In my humble opinion, we have continued to apply the same set of strategy, the same set of views to the issues of insecurity in the country. The discussion has been one-sided. We have been invited at several forums to discuss this issue, and it has always been what has government done or what is government not doing to address the question of insecurity. I think as African scholars, we need to migrate the discussion from what the government is doing or what the government has not done to what we as citizens can actually do to bring about peace. What are the stakeholders doing? what community approaches have been engaged to ensure that there is peace in these communities? What have we not done as stakeholders? And I think this is very, very important as a matter of fact, because this crisis,
Mr. Gbese,
mentioned by the Chief of Army Staff the other day.
Mr. Gbese, would that cover all of the troubles? Because as you know, we were saying earlier that there's the Boko Haram component, and then there's the banditry and all of that. So when you say, what have we as citizens also done that should probably be x-rayed, is there not, I was thinking that there's very little the citizenry can do about Boko Haram, for example. But your opinion, please.
No, that is not correct. What the kinetic component of what is usually engaged to bring about peace in every war situation is just about 30 to 40% of the entire peace building process. Citizens, stakeholders, religious leaders, traditional rulers, first and foremost, is to situate the problem rightly, what the problems are at every point in time. I think, for instance, in the case of Boko Haram, is because the stakeholders who are supposed to be assisting the federal government have not lived up to their responsibility. Recently, we had a discussion by members of the Senate where they actually discussed the question of whether the service chiefs are performing or not. And in my humble opinion, I strongly feel that we haven't reached that stage. We haven't reached that stage in the sense that the various stakeholders have not been able to interrogate their own failure, what they need to do to address the issue of Boko Haram. For instance, we have political leaders from these communities, we have religious leaders from these communities, we have civil society groups operating in this community, the international governmental organizations. Have they satisfactorily played the role, reposed in there by virtue of morality or even the law? To that extent, we can say, yes, we have done all that needed to be done in this situation, and it is now left for the military to complement whatever role they need to do. Back to the question of banditry, in Katsina State recently, the governor told us that certain politicians are behind it. In Zamfara State, we have seen intervention by the state governor there trying to engage the bandits. We have seen situations where security agencies have arrested traditional rulers who are complicit in the question of banditry. Have these people, been arraigned? Have them been properly investigated? Even as the media, how much have we done, as a segment of the society to contribute to addressing this menace in the society? We haven't really done much, because most of the time we discuss what the military or what the government has done and what the government is not doing, instead of looking inward to see and ask ourselves, what can we do, as a segment of the society to ensure that there's security? I give you a perfect example. It is the constitutional responsibility of government to provide security for the citizens. But every day, before you go into your house, you lock your gate, you lock your door. Most times, people even lock their bedrooms when they are not there. That is to say that the citizen has a role to play. For communities, we also have a role to play. And that is where we must migrate the discussion to, if we must achieve anything. What role does the Kaduna community, what role does the Southern Kaduna community must play, to ensure that there's security, there's safety of life and property? Who are the other stakeholders that we need to engage? I remember sometime in this country, a retired Major General was traveling along the plateau axis. He was killed by a youth of a certain community, and this community came out to even deny that the general did not travel through that route.
Mr. Gbese, from what you're saying,
were taken for investigation.
Mr. Gbese,
yes.
From what you're saying, therefore, it seems that you wouldn't put too much stock or too much value on the general call for a change of the service chiefs, that could lead to a different result from what we're having, because you seem to be putting a lot of the responsibility
on the
community, which you say hasn't really lived up to its responsibility. So is it that you indeed don't put too much stock on the general call for a change of the security chiefs?
Well, some time ago, I was invited on this program, and I made certain points. Out of the studio, 2 soldiers called me from the Northeast, and the question they asked, you guys are very fast to criticize what we are doing in the theater of operation. How many of you have visited us? And they went on to say, they are not just doing their best, but they are doing extraordinary things by putting down their life for us to have the safety that we're enjoying wherever we are. I think what we have not properly dissected in the case of the security chiefs most recently, for instance, if we are taking the recent attack by Boko Haram, Boko Haram did not confront the military, and the military was not able to respond, to show incapacity or what we like to term it as incompetence on the part of either the troops or the part of the leadership of the troops. Boko Haram have migrated. Remember that there was a time in this country where the norm for Boko Haram was suicide bombing. Mm-hmm. The military has been able to address that aspect of the war, or that tactics used by the insurgents to unleash mayhem on innocent Nigerians. And now they have devised the landmines where they plant these mines, to kill innocent citizens. And I strongly believe that it is just one strategy. We should be happy that we have a set of competent men and women who will be able to decode. Something happened during the Jonathan administration. Every time we bow to a terrorist narrative, because if you go memory lane, the first person to suggest the removal of service chief in this country is even Abubakar Shaka, one of the factional leaders of the Boko Haram group. Why are we as citizens subscribing to terrorist propaganda by calling for the sack of the people who are dealing with the terrorists? The terrorists are not happy that these people have come to fight, and they are having a real fight. And
okay,
politicians,
I hear you.
Who are in one way or the other connected to these people, are now taking, are now promoting this terrorist ideology by telling us to remove the people who have done the real job, the people who have taken the hits to the terrorists in Sambisa Forest, in the Eclipse, of the mangroves, people who have killed over 2,000 in less than 60 days, they are now. So why should we allow the terrorists to dictate the pace for us as citizens?
Maybe people don't understand the issues thoroughly. Maybe people don't understand the issue thoroughly, sir, because just the other months, a few months ago, Chad put Boko Haram to flight. And a lot of Nigerians were saying that, look, if Chad could do that, I mean, look, we're not going to be disparaging about any brother country in Africa, but there's no way you compare our army with the Chadian army. Exactly. But Chad was able to move in there and put them to flight.
And they even told us, I remember then they also said that Nigeria should come and finish up the job. So why do you think it's taking us this long for us to deal with this, the insurgency in the Northeast?
Well, it is no longer insurgency in the Northeast. I think it is insurgency in parts of Borno State. This insurgency has been addressed in Yobe State. This insurgency has been addressed in Adamawa State. It was in Bauchi State before, it's no longer there. So the question we should ask, what have we as a people, what have the stakeholders, the Borno stakeholders, the Nigeria stakeholders, what have we not done that has been done in Adamawa, that has been done in Gombe and Yombe to put off this crisis completely? Because the military, as a matter of fact, we must give it to them that in the last 5 years, they've been up and doing, and they have done everything. They have done very extraordinary things to ensure. Now, talking about the Chadian government authorities pushing these terrorists to Nigerian territory, I don't really think that was the case. But even at that, the Chief of Army Staff went down to the Northeast. He spent over 30 days in the trenches with the troops, and we saw the results. To the extent that Abubakar Sheka was even crying and lamenting. He spoke to international organizations that they want to lay down their arms, they want to surrender. Yeah. Within this period of time, many of the commanders of Boko Haram laid down their arms. Many of them were neutralized and said, we are no longer ready to continue. Sure. So the point where the military, had this strength, put them on the flight, what did we do? As a people to support the military in ensuring that at that point in time we neutralize every threat. And I think it is a response to what really transpired in the theater of operation about that time, that today we are having Boko Haram no longer able to engage the troops, but planting mines, on express roads. And that calls for intelligence and even the use of technology on the part of our military. And I want to make a very important point. Because the people who are supposed to provide this technology for us have failed. We have seen the Nigerian army providing some of the equipment that are needed, to fight these terrorists. And I think it is time we also provide an African solution to these problems.
Sure.
The African solutions, for instance, in America, the American security agencies are looting the American citizens. They are crying. And we hear civil society talking about international community coming in to help us fight. No, they also have their problems. It has to be a Nigerian solution to a Nigerian problem.
Indeed.
It has to be a Borno solution to a Borno problem.
Okay.
And by this, I think that is the only way we can address the remnants of terrorists terrorizing the north part of Borno State.
The other line that you might want to comment upon, you know, because as you said, some military speaking with you, you know, had admonished in the way that they had. Now, even we ourselves, we don't joke with our boys, our men and women in uniform. We do understand, or we believe in their capability. So the other part that people don't understand, maybe, I spoke earlier about the might of the Nigerian military compared to other sister and brother countries, if that is, I don't know if it's a sister or a brother, but you know what I mean. Now, so the other matter is, what are the orders that they have? Because I don't believe that if they are given an order, if the Nigerian military is given an order, it cannot execute that order. So sometimes I wonder if you'd like to consider that particular aspect, that they will perform to the orders that they are given. If the order is given that take that out in the next 2 weeks, take that cell out, is that too much of an armchair military chief that I'm being? Or doesn't the Nigerian army have that capability if they have clear orders that I don't want to hear about that problem in the next 2 to 4 weeks? It must be over. If you don't, you're disobeying an order, or you're not fulfilling an order. In that case, we can now see what we can do about it. How about that? Is that oversimplification?
Well, insecurity is not rocket science. It is not something that just appeared from the blues, and even in the next 5 to 10 years, no country will be able to do as much as Nigeria government has done in terms of fighting the insecurity problem. It is not something that can be completely extinguished, you know, by just one order. It is in phases, and there are intricacies surrounding it. So it is not something, we also have the international protocol, you know, which does not permit the military to just go into a locality to bomb every living thing in that area. We have this insurgent still keeping some of the Chibok girls. We have this insurgent still keeping some of the Dapchi girls who have not been rescued. So it is not something we can actually give an order to the army or to the Air Force and say, go to that community and level that the whole place. We have seen this before. And when it happened, our troops were threatened, you know, with prosecution at the International Criminal Court in Hague.
Okay.
What I know is right, and what can be done is still the strategic, you know, the strategic implementation of whatever order has been given. Okay. We can't just order the military to go into Sabisa Forest and begin to kill people.
No. I wasn't saying that. I'm, of course, no responsible commander-in-chief will do that. But if an order is clear-cut, if it is crisp, you know, if it is unambiguous, they have no reason but to achieve it.
And it's not the first time that the commander-in-chief has done that.
It is not a tall order. And from what the military has been able to achieve so far, we know that they have implemented, we know that they have obeyed, you know, to the letter these orders by Mr. President.
Okay, Mr. President, we're going to have to leave it there.
Is that we have a president who is everly committed, you know, who has shown in spirit, in body and soul, to be committed to addressing this problem. We have service chiefs that are dutifully committed, devoted, and religiously, you know, upholding whatever instruction Mr. President has passed. We have seen that. We have seen results. Results are coming out every day. And it would be unfair for us to judge, you know, the collective efforts of the military by the few setbacks that we have recorded in the last few months.
Thank you very much, Mr. Philip Agbese. And indeed, we do appreciate your insight into these matters. Mr. Philip Agbese, security consultant, joining us from our Abuja studios. Okay, we'll take a break now. Stay with us, please. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Other aspect of bother, the National Assembly, because we're probing their, well, they are probing on our behalf. Money is missing, untoward behavior, and all of that. But we have two reports, but let's take Joke Adisa's report first. And this is, it centers on the Minister Akpabio, actually, shall we say, explaining his statement.
That we have record to show that most of the contracts in NDDC are given out to members of National Assembly, but you don't know about it. It's okay. It's okay.
The words of the minister on Monday when he appeared before the House Committee on NDDC, which investigated alleged reckless spending in the commission. Angered by the allegation at its next legislative date, the House handed the minister 48 hours to produce a list of members who benefited from the said contracts. The ultimatum lapsed, and with no response from the minister, the Speaker on Thursday directed the clerk to file a defamation suit against the minister to the admiration of his colleagues.
To assassinate the character of the House in an attempt to deflect accountability for their conduct in office. Such mendacity, as was witnessed in the public hearing, will not be tolerated from anybody, no matter how highly placed.
The resolution of the House was still fluid when the minister's response came in and was promptly read by the Speaker, who trashed every aspect of it.
Which required payment.
In it, the minister denied ever accusing the lawmakers of having a large chunk of the NDDC contracts. But he accused the chairman of the two committees of exhibiting unusual influence to the exclusion of other members and the management of the commission. He alleged that the chairman House Committee on NDDC, Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, submitted a list of 19 contractors being owed that must be paid as a precondition for passing the 2020 appropriation bill of the commission.
I never referred to members of the 9th National Assembly as beneficiaries of NDDC contracts. As NDDC contracts, or as NDDC is yet to fully implement any NDDC budget since the commencement of the 9th National Assembly.
The House has now referred the minister's letter to its Committee on Ethics and Privileges. In an exclusive interview with TVC News, the chairman of the House Committee on NDDC said the minister's letter has vindicated him and his colleagues. He also denied making any demand as alleged by the minister and challenged Godswill Akpabio to provide proof in support of his claim.
If jobs have been done, completed, of course there's nothing criminal if there are budgetary provisions for NDDC to pay. But the question is, did I at any point in time say that? The answer is a no. And I will say this, and I'm challenging Senator Godswill Akpabio to please publish and bring any evidence that I said so. Any evidence of correspondence between him and myself.
While some members expressed satisfaction with the content of the minister's correspondence to them, others demand an unreserved apology.
It is nice that he has tried to make a clarification. We are not satisfied that he did not apologize, and will be seeking his resignation if he does not do so.
Letter indicate apology. He mentioned it.
There should be end to litigation, there should be end to altercation. We can as well let bygone be bygone and move on in the interest of the country. We have our report in place. Let the report speak for itself at the end of the day.
The head of committee, which investigated alleged corruption in the NDDC, laid its report shortly before the House commenced its annual vacation, but its consideration was stepped down because it has yet to be circulated among members. Plenary activities are slated to resume September 15, while oversight functions continue throughout the holiday. Joke Adisa, TVC News, Abuja.
Well, thanks to Joke Adisa. I think we will very shortly have Mr. Ahmed Abbas, on the phone, on Skype, to talk to us about this. But I believe. Good morning, Mr. Abbas.
Good morning, sir.
Aha, good morning. We've made contact. Well, you've been following. Thank you very much for making time for us this morning. You've been hearing I don't know how to put it. In a sense, it's detailed. It's become something of a saga, but just because you're a lawyer, and we might be able to talk to another lawyer also on the phone. Because you're a lawyer, this whole matter about taking the minister to court for the statements that he has made. Well, that's one thing. I understand that there are so many defenses. If you were to take the minister it's very, very difficult to prove. But what if the minister, if he pleads justification? Who would that serve? If he were to plead justification and then proceed to explain how he was justified in that statement.
I do not think, thank you, Mr. Yori. I do not think the minister has any reason to be afraid if the facts as stated on the floor of the assembly is actually true, that majority of the assemblymen, both House of Rep and the Senate, have been beneficiaries of NDDC contract. If that fact, as he has stated it on the floor, is factual, then he has no basis. He has no basis to be afraid. The lawyers, the House, the National Assembly is free to go to court. But if the facts are as he has stated, then I do not think they have any case against him. They do not have any case against him.
Okay, exactly. And the minister said that there was an aspect of his communication that they wanted that he was not going to make public. Now, I just don't know, because well, the House of Reps is indeed making the right sounds, because they are saying that they've been slandered, they've been libeled, in short, they've been defamed, and that the minister had better come up with some explanation. I don't know, the Minister of the Federal Republic, the problem I have in my mind is that, look, these ministers are not jokers. They won't say a thing if there is not a preponderance of belief on their part that what they are saying is helpful to getting us to the bottom of this whole situation. And as you know, is to get to the bottom of the wrongdoings allegedly going on in the in the NDDC. So that's the part that's a bit confusing. But some people are even phrasing it that the minister is backtracking. Is that your impression too, that the minister is backtracking now?
But we were all privy to what he said on the floor of the assembly in the course of his presentation to the assembly. He said it point blank that a vast majority of the contract in the NDDC are awarded to the National Assembly members, and the woman took a serious offense at that statement. I think the challenge is that there are members of the National Assembly that may not be privy to most of these under-table dealings.
As he said, as he himself said, but it was specific that the two chairmen knew what was going on.
Sir, can I, with all sense of humility, accept we are living in denial? There was a presentation made by our former INEC chairman, Jega. He said, and it's on social media, that he's back to lecturing in the university, and that he has interfaced and interrogated so many CEOs of our federal agencies. These agencies, what they go through in the hand of this committee chairman, except we are living in denial, we know that the committee system is a cesspool of corruption. You were also aware in this country when the former SEC DG, is it Oruma Ote, went before the National Assembly, she took on the chairman publicly and accused the chairman of requesting for bribe, requesting for money to sponsor them. She even accused the chairman of being given extra codes to travel for purpose of training. and that he never went to the training and he never refunded the money. It was in the air. I mean, it was so public. Except we want to deceive ourselves in this country. The committee chairman, especially the committee system, has always been, especially during presentation of budget, it's always an opportunity to extort money and to demand for bribe before passage of most of the budget of the agencies and parastatals that they are exercising oversight function over.
So, Mr. Abbas, they will always say is oversight function. And we have another lawyer with us,
Monday
Oyekachi Ubani. Are you with us?
Yes, on the phone.
Yes, I am. I am here live.
Okay. Now, talking about this NDDC probe, so many, I know Joy Nuya actually revealed so many things. She even mentioned names of even a committee member that was collecting some, funds from the NDDC. Allegedly. Okay. Now, we are also talking, she also mentioned something which is very, very vital, which is that there were no forensic auditors, looking into the books of NDDC. And also, the Senate yesterday said it is time the presidency takes over the running of the NDDC. What is your take on that? Should they just hand over the NDDC straight to the presidency?
Thank you for having me. It is important we understand the underlying politics that is being played with NDDC as an agency that was actually created as an interventionist agency in order to take care of the development of the region, the Niger Delta region. This particular agency has been under the presidency since after inception up till either last year when this agency now was handed over to the Ministry of Niger Delta. And for all these years, and it's important you know this, for all these years that this particular agency has been under the presidency, there is no single, in terms of proper development, that have taken place in the Niger Delta region. I'm from the oil producing state. I'm from Abia State. If you go to Abia State, the same thing with rivers, with issues of NDDC, with all the trillions of naira that have been budgeted over the years. So even if they want to do their so-called investigation, they should start from the time that particular agency was created up to this point in time, and let us know all the trillions that have been budgeted, where those infrastructures have been used to develop in the Niger Delta region. So they are clamoring again that the thing should go back to the presidency. Without finding out what the presidency that this particular agency has been under have done with all the funds also that have been budgeted by the Federal Republic of Nigeria for that particular interventionist agency.
Okay.
So you must know the underlying factor that is being played. Something is being played out, and that thing is take it back again, let it go back to where it was, where nothing has happened in terms of development of that particular region. So you must understand the underlying politics that is being played.
Well, I want to thank you very much, Barrister Monday Oyekachi Ubani, for giving us insight and indeed for making time for us this morning. Thank you very much. We'll go on a break now. Stay with us, please. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back, and we still have Mr. Ahmed Abbas with us, and we want to switch to, as it were, the other leg. We're talking in the National Assembly. We've just sort of, I won't say we've finished with the House of Representatives, but we've touched on this House of Representatives. And now the Senate, where alleged financial misappropriations, the Senate committee is actually recommending the dissolution of the IMC and a refund of up to 4.9 billion naira. Let's start off with our report by Tijesu Adeoye.
The Senate's ad hoc committee on the NDDC has returned to the Parliament with its report, and its findings are grave.
The agency spent 1.49 billion in payments, various payments to members of staff in various categories, ranging from 10 million to 600,000 naira by individual staff. And the total amount for 1,400 and so staff boils down to 1.4 billion. These kind of payments, we believe, should be refunded.
The committee's findings reveal high level of corruption, reckless spending, and a total deviation from the purpose for which the commission was established. This revelation infuriates lawmakers who demand that the law should bring them to book.
No need to pretend about this. This is a deliberate attempt to put the people of Niger Delta in perpetual slavery and penury. We have to introduce either Mosaic law or Sharia law. Amputation, life imprisonment. Let us look at the law when we come back.
With the kind of context in this report, the man was just asked, why did you pay 1.5 billion on palliative to staff? Staff that were at home doing nothing. He said, no, it's not 1.5. It is only 1.3. What is the difference between 1.3 and 1.5? And that you have to pay yourself first before you pay others.
But first, the Senate requests that all frivolous and extra budgetary spendings be returned immediately to the NDDC's accounts. It also suggests that all supervisory functions be taken from the Ministry of the Niger Delta and returned to the presidency.
Those that have been given the responsibility to manage the resources of the NDDC and for the people of the Niger Delta have squandered most of the resources, leaving the region poor and in a very difficult situation. This report has exposed the inefficiencies, the kind of corruption in the NDDC, and in fact, the need to strengthen that organization.
The report most importantly recommends the dissolution of the Interim Management Committee and the reconstitution of a new management board by President Muhammadu Buhari. The Senate has urged the executive arm of government to speedily consider this report and adopt its committee's recommendations to ensure the return of decorum in running the affairs of the NDDC and bring growth and development to the people of the Niger Delta region. Tijesu Adeoye, Tipsy News, Abuja.
Thanks for the report.
Yes, exactly. Mr. Abbas, are you still with us?
I'm with you, sir.
Okay, now the Senate has come up with their own report. They are saying 4.9 billion. The IMC should return 4.9 billion. But so many people out there will be saying there's still some more, cash that needs to be refunded. And that is why they are also calling for a thorough forensic audit of the NDDC. What do you think?
Yeah, you see, I think in this country, we must get to a point where we would admit that those we put in charge of our public offices and those who occupy our public spaces, I think we need to devise another method of checking the state of their mental health. I'm sorry to say that, because if you look at what even NDDC, initially we had UMPADEC that was established decades ago, and it was because UMPADEC failed to develop the Niger Delta, failed to live up to its expectation. That was why the issue of the clamor. Of course, we know between the Yaradua regime and the Jonathan regime, the quest by Niger Delta militants that they want a fair share. And all Nigerians actually stood by them that, no, you cannot be taking away oil from a region and you are not developing the region. No development. We all in Nigeria, we actually stood up to say, no, it is unfair, it is unjust, and it is immoral that a place where you are sourcing finance to develop the whole country has nothing to show for the sacrifice it is paying. And for that reason, when the NDDC was established, we were happy.
Indeed. One moment, please, Mr. Abbas. Beg your pardon for interrupting you. Mr. Joshua has called in from Iriwolide.
Good morning, and good morning to your colleague.
Good morning, sir. Thank you very much for calling.
I've always told you from Lagos-Ibadan Express here, where contract will be awarded for maybe 2 times. Mobilization will be paid. And the road is still there, not constructed. Nigeria Corruption PLC. Let's nationalize this corruption PLC and make the money go round.
It can't
so that
be done.
The citizens
It
will
can't
stop
be
suffering.
done. It can't be done. But thank you very much, Mr. Joshua, for calling in. That response actually was, ironic, cynical, and it sort of expresses perhaps
the perception out there.
Yeah, a frustration.
Yeah.
That how long are we going to be at this, telling ourselves platitudes, telling ourselves everybody knows the right thing, but when are we going to be ready? And I think that is part of what Mr. Abbas himself is saying when he refers to when Mr. Abbas was referring to some sort of a mental lapse,
Exactly.
The way he phrased it. We know these things. We know the right thing. Here we are discussing, what do we do? Do we return it to the presidency, and will it make a difference? It goes back to up here in the Umpadek days.
Exactly.
Why are these things failing? When are we going to be ready to bite the bullet? Can it be done? When we were talking security, our expert there had said that the people themselves, there are aspects of it that they have not lived up to their own.
Yeah, so for Niger Delta, it is the same people. Because the thing is, Uncle Yori, I've not seen the Niger Delta youths getting angry that, so we had a commission that is supposed to develop our region, and yet they are stealing money and they are not doing anything.
Well, how do you relate to that, Mr. Abbas?
Yes, sir.
How do you relate to that?
Hello, sir.
Well, that there hasn't been a sort of outcry upsurge from within the Niger Delta itself all these years from Umpadek till present.
The leadership class in the Niger Delta are beneficiaries of the corruption in NDDC. And so, therefore, they have a way of settling their youths.
Should we be saying allegedly?
You said?
Should we be saying allegedly? That the leadership...
Should we be what?
Should we be saying allegedly at the end of that statement that the leadership class in the Niger Delta is a beneficiary of corruption? Should we add the word allegedly at the end?
Well, yes, okay, allegedly are beneficiaries of the corruption. Otherwise, they wouldn't be this silent. When they were clamoring that there was no attention given to the Niger Delta, all Nigerians, we all stood by them, and we agitated that a special agency should be created for the development of the Niger Delta. And since that agency has been created, if you look at the history of the leadership has always gone to the Niger Delta.
Yeah.
And what are we talking about? If you are now claiming that, the funds that were allocated to Niger Delta NDDC is being siphoned, is being embezzled, is being mismanaged, who are you going to hold responsible? Then
one moment, please. Let's bring in Mr. Nwoko, who has called in from Benue.
Hold their leaders. Hold their leaders accountable.
One second, sir. Comrade Nwoko, good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Uncle Yori. How are you today?
Very well, thank you. Quickly, please. We're running out of time.
All right. Let me just join the last caller who called. It is now a program called a PLC, the corruption going on in the country, if I may join the last caller. But let me just summarize this way. NDDC probe should be handled by credible people in the National Assembly. Because if we watch from the confirmation of some of these projects, humongous projects going on in the NDDC region, we find out that I am quite sure for my marrow that nothing actually was going on there. And the people are suffering. And the presidency, the government of Nigeria, sending a very big amount of money to that region.
Okay. Sorry, sir. Comrade Nwoko, we've run out of time, but thank you very much. We, really appreciate you're also weighing in on it, and luckily it sort of coincides largely with Joshua's commentary. This is coming, we've run out of time, but we need to thank Ahmed Abbas, who has been with us all through the program. Thank you very much for making time for us. Where do you think, very briefly, if you could sort of put it into a capsule, the cry of most people that how long are we going to continue with this corruption, this forensic audit? Nuneye said, no, there's nothing like that going on. You know, could you put it into a 15-seconder, if possible, please?
Very simple. You have law enforcement agencies. Go and bring people of integrity who are mad, because what this country needs are people who are really mad at the insanity that is going on, and we have the courage to step on toes, send men to jail.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. So a radical approach is nothing less than a radical approach. Thank you very much, Mr. Ahmed Abbas. And that's our program today. Please join us next time, which is Monday. We don't do weekends. I'm Yori Folari, and I'm sure Asukwo James joins me in saying, do your best to keep safe. Bye-bye for now.